I've got a space, right, that I can show up at with no other eyeballs on me, with no elements to contend with. So to compare to if you go to a gym, right? If I go to a gym and I want to do some weird, funky shit, and that might be rope flow, or that might be some weird stretches, or that might be some bouncing where I'm like in a deep lunge like this, and I'm like gyrating. It looks a bit weird to someone, but actually there's a really nice connection pulsing in my hip there or on my calf. But from someone looking outside, they're like, what is that movement going on? That affects you, right? That shrouds me a little bit to what I allow myself to express. And that tightens my body to a degree, right? As simple as that. It does something to that. So having that space to myself, and I say this, I'm a privileged person to have this space, but I want to just share the value in that, in create it, or encourage you to create that for yourself. It's a short time, and we'll see what the fruits of it come in the future. But already I can feel that without having any alternate perspective on me, or again, that's the gym, right? When you're in a gym, there's other people. When you're in the elements outside, you can train. It's beautiful to train in nature. I really encourage people to train in nature. Go out barefoot on the grass. But there's always elements and other things pulling your awareness. When you're in that laboratory of your own space, and all I can see is tools, and I can tune into the body saying, pick that up, Tim. Without thought, there's no thought process. It's instinctual, it's intuitive. It's like, oh yeah, do that ab roller and just sit there for a bit, or do some grip, grab the grip thing and just do some pulsing on that and feel that in the lat, whatever it is. Having that space without the outside perspective and without the other elements hitting me, it's amazing what that does and offers in opportunity for to show. It shows me almost how far a traditional normal gym space that we'll go to in society, that limits our training so much. Let me put it that way. It limits our training and our own sensitivity to what's going on in the body. Going to the gym and training your body physically, physical education, fitness, sports, biomechanics, whatever you're into, is about building a relationship with the body. When we're in our head, because we've just put music or podcast on and we're not really feeling, although you can put podcast on and still feel into your body, or because we're aware of other people's perspective of us, it makes it very hard to be in communication as deeply as required with your body to have a good relationship, to develop the body to what you want to develop it into, to avoid injuries. When you have your own space and there's no other perspectives on you, you can go so deep into the body. And I've had sessions in there in the short time that it's been complete where I'm like, an hour's flown by and I've not done any moves that you could even put a name on. I've not done a single move that you could label in any way, right? But my body's had these sensations, and I've explored different things, and I've held positions, and I've done isometrics, and I've done other activations and breathing into certain corners of my body and completely squeezing and trying to, create cramp in my bicep and all this stuff. And I come out of it and I'm like, oh man, I don't feel burnt out. My body feels like it's had a good flush out. The next day I feel like nice, like I did something, but it wasn't me going and doing sets of reps. It wasn't me going and trying to lift the most I could lift. It wasn't me trying to run for an hour at a certain speed. That stuff is absolutely valuable and will be a part of my training. But I think to create a full movement practice with your body, if you're into movement culture and want a movement practice or a healthy body for long to come, and you want to be able to run the miles and you want to be able to lift the heavy weights, you need to have that flip side of that where you have time with the body in a space. And for some people, that is just like foam rolling in the living room. And that's kind of where it starts. I've been rolling on lacrosse balls for 15 years, like sensitive to the areas of the body that are tight and all that kind of stuff. But also that time where you're pulsing in the body. Maybe you put a bit of music on and you can feel the rhythm in the body, in the joint, and it just feels good. So Bam B said, is it the first time you had your own gym space? So it is actually the first time I've had a proper gym space. I've lived on my own and had living room where I can do stuff in the living room, but it's not dedicated. You can't just look at the wall. It's the first time I've ever been able to design it myself to a degree. I'd ideally be a bit bigger. I would have a couple of cardio tools in there and pull-up bar. I want to rope climb and things like that. I want a spin bike, maybe a treadmill, something like that, so you can do some real laboratory cooking. I live in a beautiful place. There's great runs here, but you can't just set a set speed and cook for an hour. when you're running the trail, run the road, the hills dictate your pace. Your distracted mind dictates the pace. You can't set a speed. When you're cooking a chicken, you don't just turn it to this degrees and then that degrees and then this degrees until you set it to a speed and it's constant and you cook the chicken and when it's cooked, you get off. It's the same how it should be. And that's why I do think there is a great place. And I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but for cardio tools in a gym setting, like a treadmill, like a spin bike, where you can set it to a temperature, to a speed, to a heart rate, go, whether it's to a time or whether it's to you're cooked and you go, right, I'm cooked now. It's an estimated time. I'm cooked. Take it off. I don't want to burn. I don't want to overdo it. You're not under it. So there is a space. I would like ideally a space like that. But for what I've got all my tools out of the boxes that they've been sat in that I've collected over years and years, wet tools and PIDA tools and myofascial release tools and all these other different things, core tools that I think, yeah, that's something cool, but it's been in a box for years. So this is the first time I've got a space like that. And you mentioned being a parent. It's definitely needed being a parent to have somewhere I can go to remove the distractions for a brief period, to not overdo it. I'm not there for 2 hours. You know, I have to put a timer on for an hour and I'm done. Okay. That was just a bit of a tangent rant I wanted to talk about, but it did kind of lead me to, you know, the muscle control stuff that I've shared on this channel before, the Maxick, the 1900 muscle control. And it led me to discover the Cramp. So let's talk about that briefly then. So for the last few years, I've been curious about Cramp, right? It's something that I'll occasionally sense my body wanting to do, like especially the hamstrings for me. That's a spot for me. And after you've done there's a few types of Cramp, I think. Like you watch a football player in the extra time, right? 100 minutes, 110 minutes, or even when it comes to, they're playing every 4 days in the World Cup and it's the 80th minute, they're getting cramp in the hamstring. That's like they've trained a lot in that moment. I don't know that this style of training is going to help. Let it cramp and then it relax. Maybe it will. They're always trying to straighten it and hit it and stretch it out, right? I'm not sure. I think trust the body a bit. Don't fight what its natural reaction is. So anyway, I've explored this a little bit, but only recently I decided, right, I'm going to just steer into this. I'm going to allow this cramp to happen. When I'm lying in bed at night, I squeeze my hamstring and it goes, oh, doesn't take much. 20% activation and it's like close to cramping. And you pull it out. You're like, oh, I know that's there. I'm aware that's there, but I'm not going to go there. So I'm like, right, let me go there. Boo, like facing the pillow. You have to let yourself emotionally express it as well, right? You can't just try and like stoic face, allow the cramp. It's like, no, allow the yells and whatever wants to come out of the body, but muffle it if you want to muffle it. Allow that to be expressed, but allow the cramp. And it would relax. And when it would relax, it would be like this nice, it relaxed more than it was before. And then my knee would I could lock my knee out and it'd be like this cracks where it like straightens out further than it was straightened before. I was like, oh, that's interesting. How about I just explore cramp? I've got time now. I've got the space. I've got no real major goals that I'm working towards other than to make my body feel better. Like I've done a lot of history in my body of sport. So I have to say that as a caveat. This might be different depending on how much you're coming into this. If you train loads, if you've got I've done a lot of impact with parkour. I've done a lot of running, a lot of different, football. I've done ultra marathons. I've done a triathlon fairly recently. So coming into it, I've got my background. Might not be for everyone, right? But I feel like, especially with a major muscle like the hamstring, which is big, how many people actually flex the hamstring? You can flex your bicep, right? Most people learn how to do that when they're young. You flex. How many people actually flex the hamstring? How does that feel to you? Does it feel like a rock? Does it feel like it wants to cramp? Does it feel like you're getting a nice squeeze? Is your mind muscle connection strong there? It is definitely a good mind muscle connection when you get cramp because your mind is going, I'm aware that exists, that part of my body, right? So I got this cramp and I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and do it for 7 days. And now I've got that space. If you know this channel from the history of this channel, when it was I Feel Truth, this channel started out, the first 20,000 subscribers here was probably from when I was doing my fast. I did a 35-day water fast and I documented that on most of the days I was vlogging and sharing my experience with the fast as I went. And this is 10, 12 years ago. And it was called I Feel Truth back then. So I was into some fringe stuff, especially back then. Fasting is a lot more common now. Into some fringe alternative practice, into raw veganism I was exploring at the time. We've touched on urine therapy and things like that. We've done some weird shit, right? So it's to make some exploration. And that is, I'm a bit of a N of one study man myself. Like I like to explore, make my own truths, like not make the truth, but try to accept that what we're often offered isn't always the highest truth on stuff. So anyway, decided to explore the cramp. Anyway, I couldn't get cramp again. 2 days later, I was squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, could not get cramp again. But I could get it in my calf. I couldn't get it in my hamstring. I got it in my calf. I was like, whoa. I found the position. I shared it in the video where you're against the wall and you squeeze off, or if you can go roll back on a Swiss ball and squeeze your feet or hang on some rings. You have to shorten. The keys to getting cramp is to shorten the chains around it as much as possible so that you can contract it as much as possible. So if I, for example, because you can see it, if I want to get cramp in my bicep, I wouldn't do that, right? Because this chain is long. I need to shorten this whole chain so that everything to it allows it the tightest squeeze as possible. Here is the tightest squeeze on my bicep. When it's wrung out, I'm wringing the whole chain out, I can squeeze the bicep. Same thing with the calf. If I just sit straight, point my toe, can't get calf cramp. But if I back bend a little bit and bend my leg and squeeze my calf, there I can get cramp, right? Or I could before. So I did that. The next day I had incredible DOMs in my calf, but the nice DOMs where you feel like, man, that feels like a nice some good nourishment's gone on, but I could still walk fine. I went for a run. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to risk injury because I've done too much weight yesterday on my ligaments and tendons, and then now it's purely muscle, like purely that muscle squeeze. As I mentioned in that video, I'm going to say it again because I think this is important to think about. When do we ever squeeze our muscles to full contraction? We demand a lot of them. And maybe if you're doing max weight on a pull-up with extra weight, then at that top, you're getting that squeeze on, right? So some people that train that way, maybe. But if you're doing a lot of running and cardio, which is in the hills where I am now, that's a big passion for me is trail running. I'm not doing this maximum squeeze. But I really think that's when I did that Maxick a few years ago, I put that Maxick program out. I loved that. Going through every muscle in the body, one at a time, and my muscle connection, squeezing it, you can only recruit the muscle that your mind can connect to. If you're not sensitive to the area, or you've never developed the sensitivity to an area, you don't have much ability to recruit it. But if you build those pathways of bicep squeeze, boom, you develop that, you have more access to stronger recruitment of it, whether the muscle's bigger or not. And then you can develop the muscle better from that point. With this, squeezing and then you get a cramp, well, that's like, you don't have to think about it then. The body's doing it and it's squeezing tighter than you can ever do it with the mind. And my analogy here is like when you're sick, your stomach goes, you vomit up because it's saying, we need to get this thing out of here. But some people, I've got friends that are terrified of being sick and they avoid that at all costs. And you're like, man, it would really help. Like, you don't seem well right now. If you were sick, you'd feel better. And everyone's probably had that experience where they felt sick, didn't feel good, they vomited, and they felt immediately better. I feel like that is also what the body is doing in cramp in some instances. It's saying, we need to get, whether it's lactic acid, whatever it is, something in the body, squeeze, wringing it out, flush it out like a sponge, right? You want to drain the sponge out, you squeeze the sponge, wring it out, let all the drops go, boom, and then it's got the ability to soak up more fresh water again. Then you can clean again, get rid of the dirty water, get the clean water. I feel like there's something like that with the body. How often I've trained hamstring in a stretched position, in deadlift position, in single-legged Romanian deadlift hinges with no weights, and I get my hamstrings are like, oh yeah. Like sometimes it feels nice if you go slow and you dig into the heel, like it feels nice, but it's still all training in the stretched position. Now, Nordics is a whole different realm, right? Because we're actually training it in a more contracted position, but that's like the extreme version of this. How could you expect a Nordic if you can't even flex your leg when you're lying down, flex your hamstring, and you're going to get cramp, really? So exploring that, got it in the calf, couldn't get in the hamstring again. Now I can't get it in the calf. But the other day I had an amazing session in my gym. I went through the biceps. I was like, okay, I know the biceps and triceps are fairly susceptible sometimes. I feel it could be there if I squeeze. So I did that. And I went around my body, all my body parts, all these like angles, right down in the lats, into the core. And you can explore some breath work when you get to the core, but into the stomach, around the lats, the rhomboids, all back here, extending the tricep. And again, you apply that principle of shortening the chain. So if I lie in like not bridge, what's it called? Like a bridge, like a crab position, and I extend the tricep, I can get a lot more squeeze on the tricep than if I tried to extend my tricep here, right? Because we're shortening that whole chain from the lats and the back across. So doing that, my God, I felt so good after that session. My whole body felt so nourished. Some areas, like I say, the bicep and tricep got cramp. Other areas didn't quite get cramp, but I got the squeeze, the good deep squeeze, that Maxick muscle control squeeze on them. But it wasn't led by me going, here's the list of which is a great intro to it, because with a lot of systems, it's like you need to learn, go through a model, a like basic program. And it's the same with flowbility, has been coming to my head a lot lately as well. Is you go through the model that they give you, but the goal is not to copy what they're saying. The goal is to find a feeling in the body that creates an outcome that you want. And so with the Maxick thing, it's about, yes, they list every body part and how to squeeze each body part. But if you just go through it like a tick list, you're not really present with the body. Whereas when you're body led, this is about, we should be body led in our physical training, especially in this realm of training, which is whether you call it recovery or assistance training, to wanting to do whatever your expression is of having a healthy body, the sport, the running, the athleticism. But the relationship with that will all come, that will be the flower that can blossom from the relationship you develop with your body. Now, a practice like this is how we develop that. It's the mind muscle connection. It's squeezing activations. And it just brought back the memories of doing the Maxick thing, but it felt like a better relationship because it was body led. I went through each body part that kind of led to the next one without trying to follow a system in the thing. And I just like, whatever I hit. And then again, the next day, beautiful DOMs. My muscles feel like softer, more spacious. I don't know how to describe it. Just much more relaxed, less tension pulling on the tendons and things now, because I've gone into that nourishment. And this is not like I'm saying anything new, to be honest, because often people talk about when it comes to injuries, especially like ligaments injuries, short range activations and squeezes are great for that, right? So if you have like Achilles tendon problem, pointing your toe and squeezing your calf and like trying to flush the Achilles at the shortened range and just nourish it with blood is like, that's a practice that people do. This person says, would more flexibility work be needed training this way? I think this would help unlock more flexibility, because with flexibility often, especially like I'm not inflexible. I'm not too bad, but I'm not someone who's been able to develop flexibility even when I've tried. But flexibility isn't the goal necessarily. Feeling good in the body is the goal. And if flexibility is the goal after that, then I think this is a path to help that. Because if the body's screaming in a flex position, it's not happy, then why are we trying to lengthen it all the time? And then sometimes it's screaming to us and we're just ignoring that scream that the body's saying, like, stop stretching me, dude. So it's like, go the other way and then nurture me. And then it's like having a child, right? You love them until they're ready to step away themselves, rather than trying to push them. No, go sleep in your own bedroom now because I need my own freedom. But the baby just cry, like the cry out method, where people let the baby cry out and say, no, they just need to learn to be on their own, rather than go, I'm going to make you feel so loved that you're going to be free to walk into the world and not feel like you're not loved. That's always going to be there. Same with the body, right? Give you the nourishment, the nurturing, and then the expansive expression can come from that once the body knows I'm not just trying to tack and take and take and tax it all the time. So it's just interesting. And with the Maxick and with all of this training, knees over toes, guys, it's like, it's not the program that they give you. It's the principles you can take from training that way that you can put into your own practice for your body. That's going to make the difference. Why any of them work and why any of them don't. It's like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. It's like a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Like this, the systems can be good. Knees over toes has got the movements are great, but you don't need to hit 25 reps of tib raises or whatever. You just need to hit enough reps to get a good squeeze so that you activate that muscle so they get some nice nourishment. That's probably never done. Most people have never done tib raises till Knees Over Toes guy brought them to popularity. That is a contraction of the front of the shin. That's going to allow that to get some nourishment, so then it can stretch and point even further, so then you get more toe off because you've done more of this. And it also, at the same time, you've got the opposite muscle, which is encouraged to relax once we start to flex that. So when I'm squeezing my hamstring, that's encouraging this relaxation of the quad. So it all ties in, but it's the principle is you've got your body. What's going on there? What is each muscle telling you? Like, how deeply can you contract each muscle? When I said I was searching for cramp and when it didn't happen, but I still contracted it and explored that, it felt like there was it was like an internal massage. I was giving myself a massage at the deep position. It's great to pay someone else to do a massage. It's great to have surgery and not have the responsibility to fix your own body. But there's a way, always a way to heal yourself and recover without having to go super. Just pass it off to someone else's responsibility. Like massage is great, and you can relax when someone does something, but the flame of your own blood from inside, from your own mind and will being activated and engaged and recruited to recruit the muscles is not much more potent than that. Than that actual, I want to recover. I just want to poke. I want to poke it with the lacrosse ball, right? It is nice. I love myofascial release. I don't think it's maybe equal to this kind of stuff, but I don't even necessarily think it, because it's an external thing poking your muscle and your mind's activated of the area, but from the external. If you can go there internally and activate it and squeeze it, now we're developing something. Now we're building that relationship. So it's the principles from Maxick's muscle control, but applied to your body. And if it cramps, it cramps. Like if it cramps, it cramps. Deal with it. Like let it happen, and then lean into it. If you need to purge, you need to purge. If you need to cry, you need to cry. We're so busy avoiding uncomfortable feelings physically, emotionally, and physically, right? That's the body just needs to do that for a bit, and then it will, in the long run, it release. So that was a little rant on the cramp stuff. I definitely got more to share, and I'm going to continue to explore it. If you got any thoughts in the chat, please let me know. But I'm going to definitely keep going with the deep muscle. I don't think this is something that like will have to be done, or maybe it's once a week. Maybe it's a chapter. I don't think people put chapters into their training enough. I think we all feel like this is who I am and this is what I must do. It's like, no, you can do a chapter of rope flow. You can do a chapter of muscle control, gain a lot from it, and then move on. And then who knows? Like for me, I enjoyed my time with Maxick, but I've moved on from it and didn't feel called to go back. And I feel like this has brought me back. Who knows what this truth spirals or whatever, you're coming back around to something again in years' time. You're like, oh, I can look back and see that provided value, and I can develop that even further this cycle around. And that's kind of what I feel. The program is just to get you started, but your personal experience and sensitivity to that practice is what's going to take it 10 times further than what any external source can tell you to train.